This is Xander Breach, and this is Before the Journey, My Early Childhood, Part 3. Before I continue, I must ask you to please watch Parts 1 and 2 before you get into Part 3. Now, here's a quick recap. Where I last left off in Part 2, I was basically adopted. I'm living with my mom, my brother, and my aunt. And we now currently moved into the base where I now start my new life. I've now gotten into home cooked meals. I'm in Little League and I'm in grade school. So now on with the next part, which is actually part 2 to living out on the base. I remember during my time of living on the base some of the TV shows I watched. I started watching Barney with my brother. My brother loved Barney when we were young. But eventually, kids my age kind of showed me Barney ain't the show I should be watching. And I remember the little Barney song of making fun of Barney and all that. And because Barney wasn't cool for kids my age back then, I kind of was like, nah, I'm not into this no more. But there was going to be a pretty cool show that was going to come out that year. That was going to be awesome. It was going to have superheroes, villains galore. It's going to be everything a kid would love. A kid like me. A young boy. Even girls, of course. But it was going to be for both boys and girls. I'm sure most of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about if you grew up in 1993. I'm talking about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The first Power Ranger show ever to come out. And I remember when it came out onto, the scene. It was popular. There was toys. And me, honestly, I was obsessed. I remember I couldn't wait for every new episode that came out. I'd watch it. I wanted to know what's up. I was waiting for the next episode every time I got out of school. My mom would turn it on. I'd just be sitting there singing the theme song. Go, go, Power Rangers. Do, 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 do. Go, go, Power Rangers. It was awesome, And, it was something a kid like me could enjoy. And I remember when the toys come out, I wanted it so bad. I wanted those Power Ranger toys so bad. But I never got them. But my friends got them. I'm like, can I play with it? And I remember moving the head around. And I was like, this is fun. It becomes a Power Ranger, then it's themselves. Power Rangers, then themselves. I remember the Blue Ranger. I remember the Red Ranger. I mean, those toys were huge back in the 90s. I remember taking construction paper, putting it around my wrists. Their little things, their little wristbands that makes them the Power Rangers. I wanted so bad to make one out of construction paper, but I just screwed up on measurements. I needed to know measurements to measure my wrist beautifully, and I didn't do it correctly. So I'm like, I want to do this, I want to fit. I just couldn't seem to get the construction paper around the wrist. I was going, ah! So, thank God for teachers and daycare, after school programs. They helped me out. But like I said, I was obsessed with that show. And I'd watch as many episodes as I did during that time. But there were some other things I was obsessed with, like Chuck E. Cheese being one of them. And I remember before going to Chuck E. Cheese, my brother and I, or my brother had his birthday before mine. His birthday is in July. I'm not gonna say exactly due to respect, but his birthday's in July during the summertime, and I remember we had his party at home. All the girls had scrunchies. My brother got a bunch of toys, and it was awesome. It was a good little get together party. Most of his friends were there. It was probably a birthday party for babies because he was turning 3, so you can imagine. And I do recall one of the things I remember when he got a tape player. I remember I touched it, my brother tattled on me, and I remember he went and told my adoptive dad, who's his biological father. My adoptive dad asked him, "Do you want me to go in there and beat his ass?" And my brother told him yes. Now, back then, you're almost 7-year-old kid, and you find out that your brother's now snitching on you. Wow. So, what happened is my adoptive dad came into the room and he spanked me. He spanked me till I cried, giving my brother exactly what he wished for. You just get me back, I'm now your new son, and it feels like you just favor him over me. That's right, he's your biological son. I know you didn't play favorites back then, but, you know, I didn't like that. I really didn't. I know he was younger than me, there I can understand that. But you could have thought of something logical than letting the child make the decision to give me a spanking. You could have thought of something logical. But you didn't. And if he's watching this right now, if you're watching this, please understand that's how I felt back then. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm going to tell you the truth in here too. So, back to the story. My mother, she may have found out about it, but she didn't question the man's discipline. I guess she didn't. I remember we went to a place called Ponderosa in Tampa. It was a buffet restaurant. Pretty cool restaurant. Unfortunately, they got in some trouble later down the line and had to shut down. But we went to Ponderosa all the time. And I remember one of the things my adoptive dad wanted me to try was meatballs. I didn't think too much of it as a child. I don't know why meatballs are awesome. Why my brain didn't function that well in enjoying meatballs. But back then I did not like meatballs. So you can imagine a couple times us going and he wants me to eat meatballs and I didn't like it. And one time when I ended up making it look like I was about to puke, or I probably was, but he thought differently. And normally when I don't like something, I have to eat it. It just makes me want to spit it out. My body wants me to spit it out because it's disgusting to me. And I don't know why. And meatballs had that effect on me. Or maybe the cooking was different back then. So my adoptive dad got angry with me and he took me, literally, I kid you not, he took me into the men's room and spanked me so hard while saying, when I ask you to eat, when I ask you to do something, you fucking do it. Like literally. And he told me that. I mean, he was pretty blunt about it. And if you're gonna cry, I remember another thing he said, you're gonna cry, I'm gonna give you a reason to cry. My adoptive dad back then was all about old school spankings. And that was one of the things he did. And he was really hard on me back then. Well, not too. Actually, I take that back. During that time, he was really hard on me. It would be years later he apologizes for that. As a child, he didn't do that. But it'd be years later, down the line, he'd apologize for that. Because apparently he knew my so-called situation and that wasn't cool. And he remembered that, and I guess it kind of made him think like he was in the wrong for what he did. I also recall, having dreams at night. And yeah, the dreams I had were pretty cool. Remember I told you about the bunk beds in the part 2? Wait till you find out these dreams. Okay. These dreams were basically, more so like very vivid. Like I'd have like these dreams where my bed would be like a roller coaster and it would shoot up into the closet and I'd go into like another dimension, or my bed would be going under the floor and I'd go into a dream world. And then I had one dream where I pushed the side of my bed and I'm in dream world, and I pushed the side of my bed again and I'm in reality. And it was, I don't know how an imagination like mine could just develop all these crazy ideas. But I learned one thing though. I had an active imagination when I was a kid. 6, 7 years old at the time. Maybe 6 years old starting. But I had an active imagination. But maybe one of the first dreams I had was a dream where I'm walking and I see my biological father. And he stands and he says, and at that time, I was missing him, thinking about him. And I go to him, but before I can get any further, I have to wake up. But I was straight on the sidewalk, and I see him standing doing this, and I'm like, and he's saying, come here, with his finger. So, back to what I was talking about. My mother believed in celebrating birthdays with a bang as well as holidays. And I remember my 7th birthday party. Man, that was, how can I say this? My 7th birthday party was awesome. I remember we went to Chuck E. Cheese. Because my mom gave me a decision. You want to go to Chuck E. Cheese or you want to have your birthday here? Chuck E. Cheese. So we went to Chuck E. Cheese. All the toys that were my gifts were put on the table. We had pizza for dinner. I remember playing in the balls, playing, maybe some of the games, not all of them. I was too young for some of them. I remember, going in the little ride things. But I don't understand why I didn't want to take a picture with Chuck E. Cheese, the big old mouse. I guess to what I remember, my mom would say, or my mom actually said that I was afraid, I guess. Because that's a big old mouse, and I'm like looking at the mouse, and I'm like, wow, buddy. I don't think I want to take a picture. My mom's like, do it. Get over there and do it now. And I'm like, yes, Mom. And Mom's like, smile. And I'm like, hey, happy birthday to me. And, we took a lot of pictures that time. I remember making my brother mad. My brother was like wanting to hold 2 stuffed animals, and my mom's like, no, you're not. And I ended up holding a stuffed animal, and he held an animal. He wanted 2 stuffed animals. So in the picture, he's looking at me like he's mad. And I got a big old smile on my face saying, I got what I wanted and you did. And that thought in my head, I like, I got what I wanted and you did. Because it's my birthday at the time. So yeah, my 7th birthday was the bomb. My friends were there from Little League, my friends from school. It was the ultimate kids party, celebrating the birth of moi for September 3rd of 93. So yeah, I gotta say, my birthday was awesome. So after celebrating my 7th birthday, because that's one of the things I loved about my mom, we celebrated birthdays when I was younger with a bang. She did not have it to where we did not celebrate. Because we were living good for ourselves. I mean, my adopted dad was working at MacDill, or he was stationed in MacDill, and we always went to the playground. Even when I was in daycare, I went to the playground. And riding the spinny thing, I couldn't ride it in daycare. But I know my happy butt was allowed to ride it when later down the line we ended up going back when I'm at home. So I wasn't mad about that at all. I was like, well, later on I'll be riding that thing anyway, so I'll just enjoy the slides and the swings. And, it was awesome just to have a playground right across the street from you. And you lived right there, so it's like going in your own backyard. And I remember mentioning this in part 1, but I want to mention this again because we actually went there during daycare. And being an Army child during that time was pretty fun to have a daycare, or actually a playground next to where you live, and a daycare that went there. So it's like you get like double the fun in a playground. School was great too. I actually met a teacher I would have later down the line, but we'll get to that later at the actual school I was going to. But I wouldn't remember who he is. And I also remember living on the base, we went to Disney World. Yeah. Adoptive dad racked up enough money in 93, I guess, and we all went to Disney. Maybe wrong on the year, maybe 94, but I do recall we went to Disney later that year. And we had the time of our lives. So I remember that quite clearly. Disney World. You know, we had the time of our lives. And that was the first time going to Disney World, to be honest with you. So, I want to kind of cut here and say this has been part 3. I will conclude Life on the Base in part 4. Y'all take care and God bless you.